Alakazam innovators, welcome to Interpret Textures. Today we'll look at the settings which are extremely important to get the best results in Eevee rendering. In the before renders, you wouldn't have gotten good results, right? But nothing to worry. We'll know about it today. By the way, if you haven't gone through the previous sessions where we learned to add color to our objects, just click on the I button there. Now, let's begin.
So, first of all, let me tell you what's the difference between the two engines, namely Cycles and the Eevee. So how do we see which engine is better? First, go to the render properties over here and click on Eevee, which is already selected by default, right? If you go to camera view, go to render, and then add a plane, scale it large, fill in the view of camera, and render the image, you will be able to see that the results are not very realistic, right? The shadow here is not starting from the edge, and the edge over here is completely disappeared. There are some shadows over here, right? These can be reduced by using some settings which have to be enabled during Eevee. Whereas if you want to, get very realistic results, then Cycles is the way to go, because it is a ray tracing engine. Means it stimulates how rays are bouncing back from the objects around the scene for realistic results, right? But there is a drawback, which is it can be slower. As you saw in Eevee, it gave us results within seconds. Now let us render the same view in Cycles. If you go to Cycles, you can see that it is taking a lot of time to denoise the view, right? Now, if I reduce this max samples to around 50, right, which is still very less for a render, over here, 52, and then click on render image, you can see that it renders each sample one after the another, right? Which is why it is able to give us realistic images. But it takes a lot of time. You can see that 7 minutes are remaining, and the time it has taken till now is 25, right? And the samples are just 3. So you can imagine how much time it takes to render this. But it can also be reduced by using a GPU. Right now, as you can see that the device I am using is CPU, right? But there is also GPU compute which can be used. And please use this only if you have a GPU at your house. According to these settings, for me which is better is Eevee, because it gives me faster results, and also I can toggle the settings in order for it to give me realistic images. Now how do we do that? First, click on the ambient occlusion, which is right here. What does it do? What it does is it adds a subtle shading in areas where the objects are really close, right? For example, in corners. If you can see here that this edge is now seen, right? If I switch it off, it is totally merged with the shadow. But if I click this on, it allows me to see that edge, which makes it a realistic, right? And bloom also helps in case of emission or, glowing the objects, which is not seen now, but in further projects, we will be able to see it. And also click on the screen space reflections. What does this do? It stimulates reflections based on what's visible on the screen, which also improves the appearance of reflective surfaces, right? The next thing to do is click on light, go to its properties, under shadow, check the contact shadows. What does this do? As you can see, if I click it off, the shadow starts from here, right? Whereas it should have started from this edge right there. So To get that, we simply click on Contact Shadows. This one stimulates shadows where objects come into contact with each other or with the ground, creating more believable lighting and depth in scene, right? So these effects all together elevate the visual quality of Eevee renders. Now if I render this same image, you will be able to see that it has been beautified, right? This edge is seen, the shadow is from here, and the overall scene is way better than the one which we had taken before, right? So that's all for today. Keep this render settings and render as many and creative renders as you can. Let's meet in the next video. Till then, keep modeling.